Hey everybody, this is a training on finishing tax returns and doing quality reviews. This will be a really good training for every volunteer, whether you're new or a veteran volunteer. It's a good reminder of the practice of how we finish tax returns, and I'll also be talking about some tips on the quality review. So it'll have kind of two parts. One is the mechanics of actually working in TaxSlayer here to go through the steps that we need to do to finish the tax return. And then there will also be more of a theoretical component where we're looking at a quality review and how to approach a quality review. I'm going to reference two documents. So I'm going to be on TaxSlayer here showing the mechanics of the last couple steps of the tax return. And then I'm also going to reference this document here, which was attached to the email. This is also found in your volunteer manual. So this is going through the steps of the logistics of doing a quality review in TaxSlayer and what you need to mark. And then the other document I'm going to reference is the intake, interview, and quality review sheet. So to start things off, just taking a look at this document here, how to finish returns in TaxSlayer. First, we're going to complete the e-file page and then move to the submission page, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. Everybody is going to get this warning in pink here that says you can't e-file, and that is because unless you're a site coordinator, you will not be physically able to e-file tax returns. Only your site coordinators can do that. And then, so once you're at that point, we're going to hand the tax return off to the quality reviewer. So to demonstrate that in TaxSlayer, I am at the summary print screen. If I look over here on the left-hand side, I'm right here at summary and print. And if I hit continue, this should take me to what we call the e-file page, which is the second to last page in the process here. Okay, so this is why we call it the e-file page. It says e-file at the top. Couple steps. First, select your federal return type. Most times, hopefully, it's e-file direct deposit. You could also do e-file and the client would get a paper check for a refund. You could also paper file the return with the direct deposit, or do a paper return, and that would be with a paper check for the refund. So I'm going to select e-file direct deposit. The next screen, if I hit next, this is the tax preparation and e-file information. You do not need to do anything to this screen here. Hit next. Now I need to select a state return type. Similar options. I'm going to go with e-file direct deposit. Hit next. This is where I can enter bank account information. We do have the ability at most locations to split a refund between two accounts. I'm just going to do one bank account here. If I hit pull refund, that'll put the full amount, $84.15, into the deposit amount. And you have to enter that twice. Okay. And scroll down through. Third-party designee information. Do not do that. So the next thing we have to do is the consent to disclose. Now, there's a lot of writing and language here. What we are asking for here is for the taxpayer's consent to carry forward their information to next year. If they grant us the consent, they can go to any VITA site next year, and their demographic information, like their name, address, the information on their employers, things like that, will carry forward into next year's tax return and will make the process a lot quicker and simpler. So hopefully we can get people's consent. Their information is not shared with anybody. It's just stored in TaxSlayer, which is a very secure system. And if they do, if they give consent, you will check the box that they grant consent, and then you need to ask them for a PIN number. Now, my suggestion here is to suggest the PIN number when you do this, such as zip code. So when I ask this question, I say, if you allow us, your information can pull forward to next year, and we'll make the tax preparation process a lot smoother. It's not shared with anybody, and it's very secure. They say yes. I say, may I use your zip code as your PIN number to grant that consent? They say yes. I put 17603 in there, and then select the date. If there's a spouse, which there is in this case, you can put that in as well, 17603, and the date. Now, the last part of this, which is new for this year, so a new process for everybody. If they grant consent, there's one more step. They need to actually physically sign, and I'm switching back over here to the intake form. They need to physically sign the back, the last page of the intake form. So they would need to sign at the bottom here, the primary taxpayer and the secondary taxpayer, if there is one. And what you can do is just have them sign this as you're putting the PIN number in. And then they will eventually keep this form. It will go with all their other tax documents, but they do need to sign this form as you're putting the PIN number in. If they deny consent, they actually do not need to physically sign this, but you still would need to enter PIN numbers here and select the second option if they deny consent. Questions. You will have 10 questions loaded in here. There's only 5 in the practice lab, but there will be 10. You're going to take the survey form that clients fill out, and they will hand you, and just copy the answers from the physical form that they hand you into here. The state ID is optional. I would recommend saving time and not entering that. So go ahead and hit save. And now just jumping back over to this form here, we've done these first 3 steps. The preparer has completed the e-file screen and has moved on to the submission page. Now from the submission page, the quality reviewer is going to come over and select the quality review print set and go through and quality review the return. So let's turn our attention to that. So here I am on the submission screen. You can see it says you can't e-file. Again, you won't be able to do that unless you're a site coordinator. And now I'm the quality reviewer sitting down to do a second look at this return. So from this screen, and preparers, you can just leave the screen like this. The quality reviewer will come over, select from this drop-down menu the quality review print set, hit print return, and that's going to open up a PDF of the return with all of the information that we need to do the quality review. So you can see the first page here is a nice summary of a lot of things. We have social security numbers, we have names, we have birth dates, we have the address, we have the phone number, we have dependents here, we have dependents' birth dates, ages, social security numbers, relationships, so on and so forth. So a couple things to look for here. 1, spelling of names. That is one of the most common errors on tax returns, is misspelled names. So make sure that you use the social security card to double check spelling of names, and also double check social security numbers for taxpayer, spouse, and dependents. Can then use photo ID to double check birth dates of the taxpayer and spouse. You will not have photo ID for dependents, and what I typically do there is confirm the birth dates verbally with the taxpayer who's sitting there. again, just for the dependents. So a couple of the other common errors on tax returns, we talked about misspellings of names especially. We also have a lot of number transpositions. Social security numbers transposed, addresses transposed. Another common one is to forget the apartment number on an address. So actually, I'm going to jump over here to the the intake sheet. And as a quality reviewer, we should be using this document too. And taking especially close note, is there an apartment number listed there? And verifying that that's on the tax return. A couple other things that are good to look at as a quality reviewer on the intake sheet, going to be things like whether the taxpayer is a full-time student. Number 10, can anybody else claim you as a dependent? That's key. If you're doing a college kid or high school kid's return and they can be claimed as a dependent, you got to take special note of that and make sure that they are not claiming themselves as an exemption on the tax return, or at least, I guess there's no more exemptions now, that you have it marked on their tax return that somebody else is claiming them. That's important. Another one that's small here but can make a difference is, do they have an issue with identity theft, and have they been issued an identity protection PIN number from the IRS? If they have, they need that to file. The return is going to reject without that code. And these are becoming much more common these days. So double checking with the taxpayer. Do you have any issues with identity theft? Okay, let's see here. We can also be double checking as a quality reviewer to make sure that the return is in scope and that everything on the intake sheet here, including these questions on the second page, have been answered and all questions have been answered. Okay, I'm now back at the quality review print set of the tax return. And after I verified all of this information, you can scroll down. And now on the second page, we have a couple more pieces of information. Here's the direct deposit information. That's good to check again. Routing number, account number, and the amount of the refund. We have a summary here of W-2s. There's actually a better place to check W-2s. I'll show that to you in a minute. Form 1099-G, this is the unemployment information. This is the best place to check this information. You can check, there's actually a better place for that and a better place for 1099-Rs. But this is the best place to check the Social Security income. Here's a summary of the taxpayer's Social Security benefits, $100. I know these numbers aren't very realistic. $10 of Medicare premiums, spouse listed second, $100 of benefits, $15 of premiums. I believe that's the one place where Social Security is actually broken out like that. So that's a good place to check that. Here's the 1099 miscellaneous forms listing the non-employee compensation from that 1099 miscellaneous. Now, if we scroll down, here's a better place to check your W-2s. So this has recreated exactly what you've put into TaxSlayer. So a good place to check employer identification numbers. That's another big error that we have, wrong employer identification numbers. And then wages and federal tax withheld, state tax withheld, local tax withheld. So there's our W-2s. Here's our 1099 miscellaneous again. Here's our 1099-R. Okay, so I was actually wrong. The unemployment compensation is actually only listed up here in the summary view. There's the unemployment, $200 of unemployment. So that's the best place to check that. And the Social Security, this is the best place to check the Social Security income. The rest of those, the 1099 miscellaneous, the 1099-R, the W-2, all of those are recreated down here like this. Okay, continuing down. All right, now we're at the 1040. So again, on the 1040, we can be making sure that dependents are showing up on the 1040. Are they getting the child tax credit? Should they be getting the child tax credit? Should they be getting the credit for other dependents? Good place to check that. As a quality reviewer, I always take this as an opportunity to double check that these people actually are dependents. And are there anybody else that could be dependents? So engage the taxpayer in a conversation about dependents, and don't be afraid to run through the same questions that the tax preparer may have already asked. Good opportunity to take a look at these lines, make sure they are making sense. On the 1040, income information, standard deduction. Are they getting the standard, or are they getting the are they itemizing? Also, forgot to mention this, and this is in a new place this year. Top line, here's filing status. Double check that. Okay, some people are going to be straightforward, but double check, especially head of household issues, married filing separate issues. Double check that. Make sure that the filing status has been done correctly, and don't be afraid to run through the same questions again with the taxpayer to determine those things. Okay, does the refund make sense? Down here in line 20A, does that make sense? Are they getting their earned income credit? Here's the earned income credit. Here's child tax credit. Are those things making sense? On Schedule 1, here's the business income. Here's the unemployment income. Okay, are they getting any deductions? Deductible self-employment tax, student loan interest. Are they getting the non-refundable credits that we think they should get? Credit for dependent care expenses, retirement savers credit. So this will take some getting used to, looking at all these new forms to make sure that what we think should be there is there. Okay. Schedule B will break out interest and dividends, so that's a great place to do the quality review of interest and dividend income. Here's the Schedule C. Does that look good and appropriate? Here's the earned income credit. Okay, are these people, or Fawn and Fabian, qualifying Frank and Francine for their earned income credit? So, running through these worksheets and thinking about the quality review as kind of an abbreviated version of doing a tax return. Don't get stuck in a mindset of just checking to make sure that things are spelled correctly and numbers are entered correctly. Take this as an opportunity to think about the client as a whole, think about the situation as a whole, and take it as an opportunity to make sure that everything makes sense, and that it's logical. You can also take an opportunity to, once you get through all these forms, review the Pennsylvania form. Okay, here a big one is, are they getting the Pennsylvania tax forgiveness credit? And that is going to show up, let's see here, on line 21. So they're getting a $922 tax forgiveness credit. And so taking the opportunity as the quality reviewer, do you think that they should be getting the tax forgiveness credit? Does it make sense that they would? And make sure that if you think they should, look into it if they're not. If you think they shouldn't, and they are, again, look into that. And then lastly, local. Do we have a local return loaded in there? Does that make sense? Do we have the right PSD code? Do we have the right tax rate? Is everything pulling over that we want it to? Okay, so take this as an opportunity to review all of those things. Now, once that's complete, you've run through all of these forms, this lengthy PDF, you've done it all. Now we can close the PDF down, and if you need to make changes, you're going to have to hit back and go back into the tax return to make changes. But let's say everything was good. Now what we can do is scroll down. We can hit complete. We need to hit complete, that this return is ready to be filed. And that is the only time that we hit complete. If for any reason this return cannot be filed yet, we're waiting on information, don't check complete. So complete is only used when everything is done. Check complete. Next thing, return tags. Everybody needs to select a tag. I don't think it'll let you exit the return from this point without selecting a tag. Now these are just set by TaxSlayer right now. In practice, we will have a bunch of more relevant tags such as ready to e-file or waiting on a W-2. That's actually something that one of our tags. So if it's ready to review, let's just pretend this one here says ready to review. We check that. I'm sorry, not ready for review, ready to e-file. Pretend that says ready to e-file instead of Slayer Squad. And this box here at the bottom, it looks like we should probably check that. And that is the one place that we don't want to check. Okay, it won't hurt anything if you do, but it just makes the process a little bit more cumbersome. So ready for review, looks like you should check it, don't check it. And at that point, then you can hit save and exit return. Couple more steps. Prepare. Prepare is going to go into client search. Call up that tax return again. Okay, so I use the search box to search for the last name. There it is, Frank Fox. Click on this little flag icon. That's going to let me leave a note on the tax return. This is a very important piece of the process. The title of the note is going to be the date. So I'm going to put 13/2019. And then I'm going to do a little description of the tax return. This does not need to be complex, but it does need to let your site coordinator know and VITA administration know what the status of the tax return is. So for a lot of people, you can put ready to e-file. And maybe something like no concerns. For some people, maybe they forgot a W-2. So you might put something like client to return Saturday with W-2. Hold, do not file. Okay, so that tells everybody what's going on. That's really, really important for us. So please remember to do this. The other thing, let's assume that this one was ready to go, ready to file. We also need to know the quality reviewer's initials. So you're going to put QR by SO for Steve O'Neill. We need to know who the quality review is done by, and you can do that by leaving initials in the note. Hit save, and then you can X out of the note. Last step, print the return for the client. Right here on the printer icon, you can hit that. We're going to be using a print set called VITA Print 2018 tax year. It's not here yet because this is not the live version. Let's just, for the sake of something that looks somewhat similar, 2018 taxpayer copy, we'll just select that. But it is going to be VITA Print 2018. Pull that PDF up and print that out for the client. There we go. It's going to look different than this, so don't worry. That's not what we will be printing out. It'll be a different print set, but that's your kind of final step. So back here on this page, after the review, the preparer marks complete, sets a return tag, saves and exits the return, goes back to the client search, finds the client, sets a note with the quality reviewer's initials, QR by SO, and then we'll print the tax return. Now, before you leave each day, it's a good practice to use the client search feature to pull up a list of every return you did that day and review that list to make sure that every return you did has a note and has a tag. So just to show you that, in my client search here, okay, and what I'll do is search from today through today, and none are here. Let's just change that a little bit. Okay, let's pretend these are today's returns. And if I were to look at this at the end of the day, there's a red flag for me. I don't have any notes and I don't have any tags. So before I leave, I better get a note in there and better set a tag so that my site coordinator and VITA admin know what's going on with those returns. Okay, so with that, use your intake sheet for the quality review. Use the quality review print set to do the quality review, and reference this document to help you with the logistics of TaxSlayer doing the reviews. Hopefully that's helpful for everybody, and look forward to starting tax season. Thanks for watching.